Alright, and so today we are over on BBS Simulator because we did get some data-mined information courtesy of Hiken on the next set of resurrectable characters, in this case ISANE, Rukia, and also Kiyone and Sentaro. I will say right from the get-go, it's very strange they're not doing the 5th anniversary characters resurrections because they should be happening around now. Be very weird to celebrate an anniversary without getting anniversary resurrections, I will be honest, but I guess there is a chance they could do them at the end of the month. Hopefully that's the case. If not, we're gonna have to wait a bit longer, and I guess one way to look at it, the longer the better. They're eventually gonna get resurrected. It's only a matter of time, but hopefully we don't have to wait too long. Either way, though, I'm pretty sure this is going to be quite the filler resurrection batch, I will be honest. I'm not expecting anything super crazy from these characters, if anything, maybe decent links. First up, though, let's have a look at Sentaro and also Kiyone. Now, the thing is, right, I don't think they're going to get a good resurrection. The main thing I'm going to look at here with these three characters is good soul trait, right? And in regards to their soul trait here, damage inflicted at low stamina plus 30% is really only good for, like, normal attack damage characters, truth be told. And I would love for them to pick up normal attack damage, but would that make sense because they're an SP character? Not so much. They're not going to get recharge because they have that built into the character, so I'm not really too sure what they are going to get as a soul trait. They're probably not going to pick up NAD. They're probably not going to pick up recharge. I wouldn't mind more damage at low stamina. Would that make sense? Have we ever seen a double soul trait? I'd be down for it. Why not? Hopefully they don't. They're probably going to pick up Last Ditch. And that's probably what they're going to get. Last Ditch, right? I mean, realistically, the only good soul trait that can go with low stamina damage is normal attack damage. So I'm pretty sure this character is destined to not get a good soul trait. In terms of the skills, though, she has recharge, or they have recharge, Sprinter, Frenzy +1, Immune to Burn, Devastation, Debilitator, and also Bruiser. If anything, what I think we're going to see here is like a 50% strong attack damage increase. Maybe get a 20% Berserker. Maybe get more low stamina built in through the innate skills or a normal skill in of itself. And if anything, maybe they're going to get more damage to paralyzed enemies. Let's find out. So scrolling down, what we can see here is that, yeah, they did get Last Ditch Survival. That was kind of the expected route. And they also did pick up Havoc, so that's kind of cool. Their range is now going to be a tad bit larger. And then in regards to their damage output, they did get a 40% Berserker, so essentially got a 40% damage increase with the extra 20% range. I mean, it's a decent resurrection. In a way, you can look at it as they got the best thing they possibly could get, besides maybe an 80% SP boost or 50% as resurrectable characters do get. But unfortunately, it's Kiyone and Sentaro. There wasn't really much they could do with this character to make them actually usable. But, I mean, hey, if you want to use them, they're now a tad bit better, but they're basically still unplayable. As a soul trait, yeah, I don't think it's going to be that useful. I like to see the good in soul traits, I will be honest. I like to get those very rare niche soul traits that could somewhat be useful. But in cases like this, I don't think I ever see myself using Last Ditch and also low stamina. I do use Last Ditch survival soul traits, but that's usually accompanied with 10% or 12% recharge. Because yeah, realistically, the only time I'm using Last Ditch survival is when I'm altering co-op content, and I'm not going to be doing Last Ditch survival and low stamina. Because if I am altering, more often than not, it's going to be a character that can potentially heal themselves back up to full stamina. So unfortunately, as for me, I only care about the soul trait for this character. Not really going to get much use out of that. For the most part, basically just 75 additional orbs. Next up, we have ISANE. So in this case, again, I'm not really sure what she's going to pick up. Probably damage to paralyzed enemies is what she's going to get. Mine does access to very good links. Like, even if she did get hypothetically 20% strong attack damage, would I use it? Probably. If she got just normal 16% sad or 16% more damage at full stamina, I mean, my links are already plenty fine, right? So I don't think she's going to do much for me, but I think in her case, she's going to get damage to paralyzed enemies. Her Berserker value might go up to 40%, and then she's going to pick up an additional 20% more damage to paralyzed enemies. That's what I'm expecting with this character. Then again, she could get multi-barrier as a skill, and maybe even the soul trait could be stam recovery. I know she has it built into the character, but sometimes when we have a character like this with barriers, they do get stam recovery. But then again, it would make sense for her to have full stamina damage too. So as a character, I don't think she's going to get much better, but there is some potential here as a soul trait, so let's check it out. So it looks like this entire banner is going to be getting Havoc, which is kind of cool. In this case, yeah, she did get damage to paralyzed enemies. Her Berserker went up by 20%, and she also got the multi-barrier. Pretty simple, set standard resurrection here, I will be honest. So I was going to say if this soul trait is unique to this character, it wouldn't be too bad, but we do have someone like Candice, for example, who has the exact same soul trait. Did we need a second one? I'm not too sure. I guess it's nice to have a premium alternative, but I will say these soul traits have definitely been super niche, like very rarely do you ever use them, but we are starting to slowly see a use for these soul traits given that guild quests, we're starting to get a lot of new characters that are almost guaranteed to inflict a status ailment. If we ever get a mind character in the future with paralysis, which is very likely to happen, it's quite a common status ailment, a soul trait like this on Candace and also therefore ISANE might very well be useful. Especially again as we are going down a route where characters have just insane damage numbers of Berserker and full stamina, where maybe giving them that extra multiplier damage to paralyzed enemies makes a bigger difference. So ISANE, once more, is also just orbs. It looks like an orb batch right now, but in this case we have Rukia. Now, she's a 14% recharge soul trait. We've been down this route so many times. You want this soul trait to be good. The last Rukia, the power one, the TLA one, that was also a 14% recharge, ended up getting what did she get? Freeze duration, right? You don't want these soul traits to go to waste. You really don't, but I feel like it is going to. Now, last time we got a 14% recharge soul trait resurrected, that being Koga, he picked up low stamina. A lot of people were disappointed, but honestly, after thinking about it, it wasn't even that bad because we already have access to a 14% recharge and full stamina. I guess it's nice to have that alternative 14% recharge and also low stamina, even if I'm rarely ever going to use it. In Rukia's case, I don't believe we have a 14% recharge and also damage soul trait for the technique attribute. Given what we've seen thus far, I'm not expecting it. In terms of skills, she's probably going to get a 40% Berserker, more damage to maybe status afflicted enemies, because she does inflict both freeze and also paralysis. They might just give her damage to freeze, because it does make up most of her kit. And just like the other characters, she might get Havoc, which will be pretty cool for her. Maybe an increased chance to inflict status elements. As for the soul trait, again, you would love a damage soul trait. Full stamina, more strong attack damage at full stamina, strong attack damage, even low stamina. Any status element duration would be bad, and I guess damage to a certain status element wouldn't be ideal, but at least maybe in the future you could get a use out of that. Let's check out Rukia though. So having a look at Rukia then, if we do scroll down, you can see here that she did get the 20% Havoc like the other character did get, and her soul trait is indeed damage to frozen enemies. In terms of the skill, she got an extra 20% more damage to frozen enemies too, and also a 10% Berserker. So just like the other characters, in terms of characters' playability, I mean, she's going to be a tad bit more fun because now she has more range, but damage output is, of course, going to be very lacking. In terms of the soul trait, yeah, I mean, it was expected it was going to go down this route. This could be a tad bit disappointing, but, you know, I just checked my current list of characters that I do own. We already have access to a 40% recharge and also damage soul trait, that being a Soifon. So it's not like we don't have it, so I'm a bit forgiving with this soul trait being what it is right now. Like, I already have plenty of recharge and damage soul traits. I'm not that fussed about her not getting this soul trait. Would have been nice though, don't get me wrong. Would have of course been nice, but nothing super crazy. If anything, a soul trait like this definitely could be useful in the future, because that might be the meta we are going down. Because if we have a look at our new characters right now, let's just use Soifon as an example, right? Her Berserker and full stamina is already quite high to begin with, but what we do know is that she has a pretty much guaranteed chance to inflict paralysis on all of her attacks, except her SA2. It's not guaranteed, but it has a very high chance. And with that, in ways, you might be better off just giving her damage to paralyzed enemies instead of using strong attack damage, because again, she already has 60%, but she has no skill here that increases her damage to a status afflicted enemy, so it's a different multiplier, and therefore you're overall doing more damage. And given that you're very likely to inflict a status element, the link itself actually can work. And of course, the link for Soifon, for example, is going to be this Nemu. I've actually been using it in guild quests to get overall a faster clear time, because when you have a character that does have a very good chance to inflict status elements, soul traits like this can actually be useful. In the case of Rukia right now, I will say the soul trait is quite useless, because what you will see here is that we haven't had a character in recent time, at least within the last year, that can inflict freeze on all of their attacks. The most recent one being Safui Toshiro, but what you're going to notice with him is that he doesn't have a good chance to inflict status elements, right? You're going to be spending way too much time to proc a status element. At that point, you might as well go with strong attack damage and also full stamina damage. We do have a character like Rangiku who can inflict freeze only on her soul bomb, so this Rukia soul trait, its usability more so really comes down to Caleb, right? If we do get a character in the future that can inflict freeze and has a very high chance to do so with a high Berserker value and maybe even full stamina, that soul trait will be useful on them. Maybe Bankai Rukia will be a technique character at the end of the year, or at least the next couple of months, as we would expect Rukia to release sometime soon, right? So yeah, right now this soul trait is quite useless, but it definitely does have some usage in the future. Sure, it would have been nice for her to get sad full stamina damage. I don't really care all that much, I'll be honest. Like, my links are already good as is. I don't mind them experimenting with soul traits like this, but then again, maybe do that on 12% recharge soul traits, right? Maybe you don't want to experiment on soul traits that are, 14% recharge soul traits. Having said that though, the next character to have a 14% recharge soul trait in the technic attribute is actually going to be this Nini, who technically is eventually due a resurrection. Like, we are currently around that point where these characters are getting resurrected. Although the question is, when are we going to get Burn the Witch characters resurrected? And even when she does get resurrected, chances are she's going to get Purity, so damage to enemies not affected by an ailment, but you never actually know. Maybe they are going to want to make her a good soul trait, given that she is a Burn the Witch character. But again, if you are upset that Rukia didn't get a good soul trait, remember, we already have access to Soifon. That should fulfill what you need to do anyway. So overall, I would definitely say this is going to be an Orb Resurrection batch. Basically, all characters, they all got very similar upgrades, a small damage increase, more damage to stats of affected enemies, and they also all did get Havoc, which is kind of cool. If anything, Rukia might be a tad bit more fun to play with, and that's about it. But if you do own all three of these characters, when they do resurrect on the 13th of this month, you are going to get 225 Spirit Orbs. As for the soul traits, ISANE and Rukia definitely can be useful in the future, but that really comes down to future character releases. With that said though, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know what you guys think about these character resurrections in the comments below. And until next time, take care and peace.